Thunder, 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 Thundercats. Oh! Man, I'm going to be doing that a lot in this video, so I'm just letting you guys know if that's going to annoy you, there's going to be a couple times more that I do this. But what is up, guys? I am the Theblazingdeity, and whether you're watching this on Twitch Live or whether you're watching this on TikTok or YouTube, this is going to be a first episode of a series that we do reviewing the 2024 issues of the Thundercats. Now, for those of you who don't know who the Thundercats are and you clicked on this video in hopes to get an introduction to the Thundercats, I can give you guys a brief summary or a brief synopsis of who this group is. We have Tigra, Panthro, Chitara, Wily Kid, Wily Cat, Snarf, and their fearless leader, Lino, leader of the Thundercat group. It's funny because in the 1980s, we were transitioning from what we thought typical superheroes and animated heroes were. It went from the cape and cowl and, highly colorful characters to more of a serious tone. We got, humanoid heroes like Lionel and the Thundercats. We got big buff barbarians and super manly figures like He-Man, who are highly overpowered. And we also started to go into the futuristic age with characters like Voltron. And you'll see that there is a connection with all these stories with how they start and the villains that are involved. It's usually a coming of age story where you have one icon or one character who's meant to defend not just Earth but the universe from an evil, and a villain that looks like it came right out of the House of Horrors. It's funny that the running theme for 80s characters was big, strong, buff men fighting the undead. That was really what was going on in the 1980s, and I thought that was really, really cool. But here we are with the Thundercats team. So when we look into the first pages of 2024's issue of the Thundercats, and I'm going to say Thundercats a lot, so if you guys want to make a drinking game out of this, let me know if you do it in the comment section. Just let me know if you decide that every time I say Thundercats starting now, that you guys made it a drinking game and how many shots you took. But we start off with the destruction of Thundera being monologued by Lino, which is consistent with every story the Thundercats are in. Their home planet of Thundera gets destroyed, and they and the royal family are fleeing into space to find someplace new to stay and to pretty much regroup. The reason Thundera is destroyed is because there is a specific artifact called the Eye of Thundera, right? And this is something that the villain Monra has been after. And it's connected to a relic called the Sword of Omen. Now, the Sword of Omens is Lionel's weapon of choice, and it's also powered by the Eye of Thundera, but we'll get into maybe a video about that another time. So, what's consistent is the destruction of Thundera, and the Thunderians either getting completely wiped out and only a handful of them escaping. And what happens is the Thundercats, along with Jaga, who's supposed to be their mentor and this iconic figure of the Thunderians, is leading them to a new world. But unfortunately, during the travels, Jaga passes away before they reach the place that they want to get to, which is probably where they're going to start anew, which is consistent with every Thundercat story. During this, the Thundercats are put into stasis so that their bodies aren't affected by the space travel and the elements found out in space, and so that they can keep their youthful vigor for the most part. But what happens is Lino, being a cub at the time, is compromised. His tank or his stasis chamber is compromised, causing him to experience the time lapse that it takes for them to flee Thundera and end up on, I guess, another Earth. What they call it Earth 3 or something like that. They land on another planet, and during this travel, because his pod was compromised, it caused him to age up. So he has a brain of a child, the maturity of maybe a young teenager, right? So he's high angst and, hot-headed and, still slightly immature, but the body of a full-grown adult. And when they land there, they're surprised. Lionel, he's an adult. What do we do? Which is the consistency in all of the Thundercat stories. They're like, well, with Lionel as an adult now, what do? We have to still train him. He still has to go through the regiment that we had him in, which is where Panthro comes in. Now, Panthro's a really cool member of the Thundercats because he's like that, uncle who, is hard on you because he sees your potential and doesn't want you to, fall by the wayside. It's not like that, Disney like dad trope where it's like, I'm gonna make you, live out my dream. It's like, no, Lionel has a responsibility, and Panthro is going to make sure that he follows that path correctly. Kind of like the Uncle Iroh, right? Almost kind of like the Uncle Iroh trope. Somebody who is there to guide you and make sure that you're going to do right. But Panthro is not a pacifist. This man has always been about business, and he makes it very clear to Lionel, I may be harsh on you, and you see me as this guardian of yours, but you have to remember, I'm also a general. Like, we're going to make sure that you are in shape. We're going to make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Now, in relation to the other members of the Thundercats team, we have Lionel's older brother, Tigra. Now, Tigra is a very interesting and possibly one of my favorite members of the Thundercats team. He's highly intellectual. He is somebody who dabbles in science and technology, but despite that is very physically capable. We also have Cheetara entering here, who of course by her namesake is known for her speed and agility. I think these characters are really cool, but my favorite members of the Thundercat team is Wily Kit and Wily Cat. And people are gonna be like, why are they your favorite? Why do you like Wily Kit and Wily Cat? They're just two kids, right? I have a twin. So I understand what it's like to have somebody who looks just like you, who's a member of the opposite sex, and you guys have to try your best to get along, and you guys look and act almost exactly alike for the most part. So it's funny to watch them interact and copy each other's senses. Like, you have this scene in the very first book here where Tigra is hunting and he's interrupted by Cheetara, and then later the same game that he's after, which is like this rabbit looking thing, the Kit twins or the Cat twins, the Wily twins are after. And Wily Cat is like, I claim this bounty in honor of the Thundercats. And Wily Kit mocking her brother, no, the bounty is mine. And they get in each other's way and they like start fighting over like who gets to get this, this rabbit thing. And it's hilarious to me. And this is what I like about the Thundercats. Though it came from an era where the heroes were getting hyper serious and it was all hyper masculinity and, big buff men fighting evil, there is a warm, homey feeling looking at Wily Kit and Wily Cat and how they interact with each other as well as other members of the Thundercats, because remember, though they are a quote-unquote hero team, they are all actually related. They're all actually family in some way, shape, or form. So we pick up with Lionel being really upset because he thinks that Panthro does not trust him enough and doesn't think he's mature enough to lead the Thundercats yet, which is something that's always been consistent with Lionel's character. They say, yes, you have the body of a man, but you are still a child at heart. You are still a child in mind, and you have to remember that. And all we're trying to do is sharpen you so you are able to lead the Thundercats. And he's like, you know what? The Sword of Omens is mine. It's my relic. It was passed down to me, and I will lead the Thundercats how I see fit. And he leaves in a fit of rage. It's very traditional to every story you see a young adolescent going through that growing pains moment. You see it in Avatar with Zuko. You see it in Naruto with Naruto and Sasuke. You see it in almost every form of media where the youth will run away to try and clear their mind when they were just told that, they have duties and responsibilities and they're not quite living up to it, and it's them trying to run and find themselves. And during this run that he did, or this, trying to clear his mind that he's doing, he happens to stumble upon a mutant ship. Well, the mutant ship actually finds Lion-O, and because of that, it is on sight. That is one thing that I can say. When it's anything to do with the Thundercats versus the mutants, it is on sight. The mutant army is single-handedly responsible for destroying Thundera, so it's gonna always be on sight. So of course we get the Thundercats, ho! And he awakens the Sword of Omens, and he is ready to do battle with the mutant ship and anybody who is on it. But it seems that Lord Slith is on it, and Lord Slith, I'm pretty sure I am pronouncing this right, is the general of Mum-Ra, the big bad, but also a high leader in the mutant army. And he's on this ship and he's ready to do battle with Lion-O. He's like, there's no way that this is Lion-O. And Lion-O's like, foul beast, I will vanquish you. You will pay for your crimes against Thundera. Actually, let me do it in my Lion-O voice. You will pay for your animal cruelty. You will pay for what you've done to Thundera. Right? He very the monologues of 80s heroes was so like, and you will pay for your evil doings, right? And that's pretty much the stick that Lion-O is sticking with. And Lord Slith is like, I know Lion-O. Lion-O is a sniveling little child who was pretty much scared of his own shadow, right? I can't wait to actually put my hands on that kid, make him really feel fear. And then he's like, no, you are Lion-O. Because I can see the fear in you. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of you like I said I'm going to. And when he sees that Lion-O is a match for him, he's like, well, it's cool that, you've gotten a little better, but I'm not alone here. And the hordes of mutants start pouring out of the ship. But in response, you hear Panthro say, and neither is Lion-O. Where the Thundercats go, it's where Lion-O leads. And they charge into battle to help Lion-O face the mutant army. Now, during this whole fight, you have Panthro really shining. He's a shot caller in the highest sense. You can see the general tactics that he's using. He's like, Wily Cat, stop them from entering the ship. And I need Tigra, because you are so capable, I need you to back them up. Make sure they'll be okay. Chitara, cover both flanks because of your speed. And they're like, well, what are you gonna do? And he's like, what I always do. I give him that work. And he jumps into battle and he starts beating up everybody in front of him, because Panthro is a physical specimen. He's about that action, as you can see, right? So when you watch them fight, it's so awesome, because of course you have Chitara using her speed, you have Tigra using his intellect in a fight, but I love how the Wily twins fight. It's very reminiscent. This whole fight is very reminiscent of the 1985 opening to the Thundercats animation, where Wily Cat and Wily Kid are throwing smoke bombs and on the hoverboards, and you see that in this fight. You see Chitara blitzing everybody beyond their wildest dreams, right? And you have Panthro just mowing through people. And Panthro notices that Lion-O is holding his own against Lord Slith. He's like, I might have been a little too hard on him. He's growing, and I can see that, and he's growing at a rapid pace. And maybe, he will be mature enough to actually lead. And he's having this monologue within himself. And Lord Slith has had enough. He's had enough of Lion-O's talking. He's had enough of his troops getting defeated. And he's like, we gotta retreat. And Lion-O's like, there is no retreat. We're stopping you here and now. But unfortunately, Slith breaks the Sword of Omens, and because of that, it affects directly the Eye of Thundera. And because of that, off-world, Mum-Ra, who is attached to these relics, he feels it, and he's like, I just felt it, and now it's gone. I felt the Eye of Thundera. I felt the Sword of Omens, but now it's gone. Why is that? Jaga. And you see like the essence, the spirit of Jaga, who was the, guardian figure to the Thundercats and the person who was supposed to help them get to this new world. But you see his astral essence in the same place as Mum Ra. And that's the cliffhanger they leave us on for this issue. If I'm being honest, a 8.5, very close to a 9 out of 10 is what I will give this issue, simply because how reminiscent it is of the Thundercats 1985 opening right off the rip, right? The fight is literally what we get. In that opening, we get in these few panels, and I love it. It is a very easy introduction to the Thundercats, who they are, what their shtick is, what they're trying to do. It introduces the people that you're going to see constantly, from the members of the Thundercat teams to the general of the big bad army, which is Lord Slith. And you have glimpses of the big bad Mum Ra. I love this series. I feel like it's going to be really good. The next issue comes out sometime at the end of February, beginning of March. And when it comes out, we will definitely do a review of that issue. So this is the video for issue number 1. And as issue 2, 3, 4, and etc. come out, we will link it within every one of the videos. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and listen to this video. Like, I'm a huge Thundercats fan, and if you guys are wondering what the background music is, if you can hear it depending on where I put this, we're actually listening to an artist named Thundercat, which I would recommend anybody take the time to listen to. Like, love his music, really do love their music. But if you guys are Thundercats fans, you let me know. I would say go to your local bookstore, your local comic book store, and pick them up. They have several different iterations of the cover art for this, and the incentivized art is amazing. Of course, you know me, I had to go with the Lionel holding the Sword of Omens and the Eye of Thundera just on the cover. I had to get this one. It is beautiful. I can literally hear Lionel while I'm looking at this cover saying, "Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight." Like, I love it. But like I said, close to a 9, 8.5 out of 10 is what I'm giving this issue. And if there's a book or a series or even a show or a comic that you guys would like me to review, go ahead and put it in the comments and I will do my best to get to it. But other than that, I would enjoy if you guys came around a little bit more, we interacted a little bit more. If you like what you see here, definitely leave a like, and I'll make sure to get you guys with some more reviews a little bit later.